Everyone, and welcome to the 330 Sports Show. Today's Thursday, August 13th, 2026. We're going to step outside of our traditional sports talk with you today with our guest. She has one hell of a story that she's going to tell us about, from growing up right here in Youngstown, Ohio, to becoming a Playboy Playmate, living a life a few of us can only imagine, and now sharing the real story behind it all in her new book, Beyond the Velvet Ropes. She was a guest on this show about 5 years ago, so we're going to welcome back to the show Jennifer Archuletta. Jen, how you doing today?
I am great. Thanks for having me. I can't believe that much time has passed.
I know, it's crazy. I was looking back, I think it was September of 2021, but yeah. On that podcast, you were in video. I was telling you before the show, I said, I think a few people might be disappointed you're not on video, but Jen, you're driving, you're out west somewhere, and she's driving right now, but she is kind enough to join us via the phone. So again, thanks for doing this. And Jen, let's start, I'm recording this podcast at Youngstown Studio. Let's start with Youngstown and growing up. So what did growing up in Youngstown give you that you don't think you could have gotten maybe anywhere else? If you grew up in Chicago or Florida or Arizona or wherever else, what did Youngstown give you that kind of made you who you are today?
I think Youngstown gave me grit, and it gave me, just like a little bit of an edge. Coming from the South Side, I always felt like it was earned. And when you tell people you're from the South Side, it just kind of gave you that edge. And I think I started working when I was 12 years old at the Silver Mirror. And I mean, my kids would look at me like I was crazy if I told them they had to get a job at 12. And my family didn't tell me I had to, but to think that I was working till 10 at night and washing dishes and loading dishwashers and unloading them and taking trash out and wiping down tables, and I couldn't touch the beer bottles, is crazy. And then, even I was selling vacuums door to door. I mean, I was such a hustler, and it gave me a hustle mentality and wanting better for myself and my family. And I just think Youngstown's great because everybody has that work ethic. And I think that's something that made me successful with Playboy. I wasn't the prettiest, I wasn't the tallest, but I had that work ethic that I never said no to a job. I always did my best. I wrote thank yous. I gave them headshots for their big, CEOs or whoever I was doing different events for, and they really appreciated that. And that was my work ethic coming from Youngstown, Ohio.
Absolutely. That's great. So grit, the work ethic. What was that restaurant you said? What was that called?
It was the Silver Mirror.
The Silver Mirror. Joe, do you know the Silver Mirror? I've never heard of that. I've never heard of it. Okay, so the Silver Mirror, getting a shout out.
And it's really sweet because the Boardman News had a article done on me, and the daughter of a woman named Goldie who owned it, she said that her mom often talked about me, and she left me a very sweet message. So. Okay. Yeah, the Silver Mirror. I don't know if it's still around. I'd have to probably drive by when I'm home.
We're looking it up. I have never heard of it, so I don't think it's still around. But we're doing some research behind the scenes here, so we'll let you know. Sticking to Youngstown a little bit. What's the most what do you think? So I mean, maybe you already answered it, but what's the most Youngstown thing about you that has never left? Is it that work ethic?
I think it's work ethic. I think it's heart. And I also, I don't really back down. I mean, people don't believe this, but I was getting in bar fights until I probably shouldn't have, and probably could have got myself in big trouble. In a lot of different places, like you name the city, and I've probably been in a fight somewhere there.
Oh my gosh. And was that you instigating or you retaliating? How'd that usually come about?
Well, I talk about this in my story a little bit, but I think for a while I was angry about a lot of things in my life that I was not doing or doing. And I was just taking out on the world. It was like, just if you looked at me the wrong way. And, we had security travel with us. So sometimes it was a little easier for me to start things with people and then end it quickly.
I like it. I like it. So that heart, that grit, that fight. You're what, about 5'3", I believe. So you packed
5'3", 5'4".
It's like what they say, not the it's the fight of the dog. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. So that's cool to hear, but it's also interesting, to kind of hear like the backstory of why that became a thing. Behind the scenes here, Joe just looked up the Silver Mirror. We were curious about it. It says it was a popular local landmark restaurant and bar in Struthers, Ohio, located on Youngstown Poland Road. So, so apparently, the building, Jen, was demolished in 2002. So, rest in peace. I was going to
say, we're going to have lunch there if it's still there.
Right. Well, rest in peace to the Silver Mirror, but it sounds like it, gave you, some good memories back in the day.
It did, and yeah.
Well, let's go now. So if we dropped teenage Jen back into Youngstown, Ohio for one night, back in the day, where are you going? What are you eating? Who are you hanging out with?
Well, I would be hanging out with my friend Stacy Croner, and she sadly passed away. I talk about that in my book too. And we'd probably stop by Taco Bell, and I'd try to find some change for gas for my Firebird. And we would probably drive down 224 and then hop on some motorcycles if we've seen some guys that would allow us to ride on the back of them. And then at night, we would go to Perkins and eat very late at night. And that was like so many great memories and fun and just free and exciting. And that's what we loved doing.
Nice. And I'm going to have you,
sounds so simple.
No. And I mean, I am I lived in Youngstown most of my life, especially growing up before I went away to college. So, I mean, I did the JJs and stuff like that, and then headed to Perkins, sometimes 2-3 in the morning. So I remember those days as well. I'm guessing the Perkins on 224 in Boardman.
Yeah. That's still around.
That one is still around. Yeah. Not too far from Barnes and Noble, where you're doing your book signing. Maybe you can drop in there for old time's sake. I'm sure they would love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's move away from Youngstown a little bit. We're going to revisit that, but let's, I'm going to have you just tell this story. You told this story 5 years ago, but for me, this is one of the coolest stories I've ever heard, like a discovery story. But for anyone that hasn't heard it, I know you've done other interviews and other podcasts, and you have your own podcast. And obviously this book that's coming out, but take us back, and how did that girl from Youngstown end up in the Playboy Mansion and get discovered to then become a Playboy Playmate? I love this story, but I want to have you tell it again.
Well, I was staying in Chicago at the time. I was escaping troubles in Los Angeles, and a friend of mine said, "Do you want to come back to LA? And just get away?" Because I didn't have anybody in Chicago. And so I said, yeah, but I couldn't even afford a ticket. So another friend and they put their money together and they got me a plane ticket. And so I flew out to Los Angeles. And while I was out there, she said, are you still doing makeup? And I said, yeah. And she's like, well, I have a job for you. And I said, okay. And it was like $500. And she said, you just have to do makeup. It was in honor of a supermodel, Kylie Bax. And so I said, that's great. So went to the party. And then I thought, well, these parties, I read about them a little bit and I knew a little bit that they were lingerie parties. So I went to this shop and I bought a red bikini top. It was really cute. And it wasn't like typical lingerie, but it looked like sexy enough and a sarong. And so I packed it in my bag and I did my makeup. And we always did things in the basement of the mansion. So that's where the girls were getting ready. And so after we were done, security came down and he was like ready to escort us out. And he basically said, you guys aren't allowed to go to the party because we weren't guests. We were just the workers.
Okay.
So, meanwhile, like, I think like one of the girls, they were having a few cocktails downstairs, you know, girls just getting ready. I think there were a couple drinks left over. I don't even know who they were, but I took a couple drinks and I was like, you know what? I'm going to put on my outfit. I'm never going to get back here. And I'm just going to go to that party. And I remember walking up the steps and all of a sudden there was like BBC there. There was a bunch of different media, even though it was a really small party. And they were like taking pictures of me. And the crazy thing is it was Valentine's Day. I didn't even plan that I was wearing red. And so I'm in this outfit and it's a more casual party. Like Hef is always in his PJs, but this was definitely a more casual party, like these cute supermodels in jeans and t-shirts and just cute but casual. And I just show up in this red outfit. And so they think I'm part of the party and they're like taking pictures and people are asking who I am and all these things. And so Hef ends up calling me over to his table and I thought, oh my gosh. And I don't know why, because I was nobody, but I just kept thinking it was going to make big news that I was going to be kicked out of the mansion and escorted out and arrested. And he called me over and he says, who are you? And I started laughing and I said, who are you? And he just gave me the biggest laugh. And he said, you should test to be a Playmate. And I didn't think anything of it. And his photographer took my number and she was his public photographer. And then I went back to Chicago and a couple of days later, his daughter called me and said, hey, we'd like you to come in and have a test shoot. And so they flew me back out and I went to the Santa Monica studios and the rest is history.
That's great. I love that story, especially because it just took this like this attitude. This obviously you had a lot of confidence to be dressed that way and to walk into a room like that, but also took like I don't give a shit what's going to happen. I might get arrested. I might make it on Playboy. You know, we're gonna FAFO, you know, and we're going to see what happens. And it turned out for the best. And I love it. I think that story is like the coolest thing with that. So Jen, becoming then a Playboy Playmate, did that sort of change you at all as a person? Did you see yourself in a different light, or did other people like, did they perceive you different after you then became a Playboy Playmate?
Yeah, because in the 2000s, Playboy was big in LA. It was big, you know, I even said this, like growing up in the 80s, it's like, you know, you've got Baywatch, you've got all the music videos and rap videos that are starring different Playmates. And so being a Playboy Playmate, it definitely got you into exclusive places. All you had to say was we have a few Playmates and you were going anywhere and getting into anything you wanted to. And so it was like a ticket to different places in LA that I never had. I mean, I moved out to LA and I was working, you know, retail or makeup, and life sucked and traffic sucked and people sucked. And then I became this Playboy Playmate and I could do anything I wanted. And yeah, people looked at you differently. They treated you differently. I never thought of myself differently, but I definitely knew my life had changed in LA for the better. But then it got like, you know, you get tired of it. I got tired of going to the clubs. I got tired of going to the parties. And all I wanted was a few friends that maybe wanted to go see a movie or, you know, sit in your sweats and not talk about what celebrities are doing what or who's doing what. And I started to look for that in different people and I couldn't find it. And also Playboy for me, and I won't give too much information on this because it's in my book and I don't want to spoil it, but I was in a really bad place where I was either going to jail, I was possibly going to be killed, or, you know, I didn't know what the outcome of my life was. I had drained my bank account with lawyers. All my friends went to jail or nobody was talking to me. And I had no money and I couldn't go home because the FBI was wanting to talk to me, or I thought maybe these other bad mafia guys might come and find me because you could find out where I lived in Youngstown. So I went to Chicago and I was hiding in a cold city where I didn't know anybody and by myself and just hoping that I could get through every day. And when I found Playboy, or Playboy found me, I had instant money, instant fame, and and I had the money, and then I had friends, instant family, all these girlfriends and friends that I wanted so bad my whole time in LA, because it's such a hard place to meet people.
That's, I mean, that sounds like it's ripped right out of a movie. It's like, you know, stranger than fiction almost right there. And literally the mafia, you had mafia people coming after you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I didn't know at the time if the FBI was scarier than the mafia, because you know the FBI was knocking on my doors all hours of the night, and I know, like, my lawyer told me that one of them thought I was cute, and you know they were younger guys. They weren't like these old floppy, like old school FBI agents, and so I don't know if they were knocking on. They knew everything. They had watched me for 2 years. They had recordings. They had video. And so I don't know what they wanted, but that's why I moved away, because somebody said, if they want you, they'll have to extradite you, and that will cost money, and they're not going to do that. So they finally left me alone. But then in the back of my mind, I thought, well, here I am talking to the feds and you know, working against the bad guys. And are the bad guys going to come after me? So, you know, FBI can get you for perjury. If they knock on your door at 4 a.m. and then the next day they come at 6 a.m., you're a scared little girl. So it was crazy times, and I didn't know really how involved my boyfriend at the time was, but he, you know, he was sitting there with some big heavy hitters, you know, and we know a couple of those guys from Youngstown.
Well, that's where
as far as the mafia is concerned.
Yeah, I was gonna say Youngstown has has done a lot of good for you, but that's the negative side of Youngstown that we want to try to rip away, is that old Youngstown mafia capital of the Midwest and all that stuff. So that's some scary stuff right there. And I know, you don't want to go into full detail. We have the book. So anyone that is just tuning in, we're talking with Jen Archuletta. Some people might remember her, Jen Walcott from the Youngstown area, but Jen's gonna tell us a little bit about her book here without going too much into detail. But like, Jen, your book is called Beyond the Velvet Ropes. And anybody that's been to like a fancy restaurant, club, whatever, you've seen the velvet ropes. But for Jen, for you, what does that title mean? What does Beyond the Velvet Ropes mean to you as a title?
Well, fame made me famous. It didn't make me happy. And success changes your circumstances. It doesn't automatically change your heart. And so I got behind the velvet ropes, and just like all of us, we think, oh, if I get a new car, it'll change things. If I get married, if I have kids, if I get moved up in my job. And yeah, things change for a little bit, but you kind of go back to maybe the same sadness, the same anger, or just the same, whatever you're dealing with. And so Beyond the Velvet Ropes, I'm not going to lie, it was a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. But, you can't stay there too long.
Right.
And I think getting beyond the velvet ropes made me realize, do I want to become who they want me to become? Or do I want to find out who I am? And I ended up finding out who I was, having both worlds and understanding the importance of both worlds. And I chose the Youngstown girl, and the one that, was service at heart and loved her family and loved hanging out in sweats and watching a movie, and people that really cared about me, not trying to stand by the idea of me. And so that was tough, because you can't have them both. You can't. And I think we see that more and more in Hollywood, and Hollywood's becoming exposed. And I'm thankful that I didn't experience the darkness, but my moral compass was pretty strong. And I think, and I'm not saying this about everybody, everyone has their own circumstances, but you can't mess with this Southside Youngstown girl. So maybe that's what got me through. I don't know.
No, that's great. It's so interesting because, people see, and I think that's a perfect title for this book, because people see the celebrity, they see the Playboy mansion, they hear the fun stuff, but they don't know the journey and all the the negatives and the downside that comes with that. So I love that you're opening up about your story. So Jen, why is this, like, right now? You know, you're doing a book signing coming up here on August 23rd here in Boardman. Why is right now the time to release this book, tell your story, and kind of like really fully open up yourself and your history to the world? Why is right now the best time to tell this story?
Well, because tomorrow will never come. And so we always, we have a calendar that says tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And, a lot of people say they're going to write a book. A lot of people say they're going to, go to Thailand. And then years pass. And so for me, it was like, okay, I'm almost 50. Am I going to do this now? Or am I going to wait another 20 years? I probably won't care in another 20 years.
Right.
So I really wanted to get it out there. And, I volunteered for many charities, and I gave a testimony at one of my charity events, and it was for Child Help. And it talks about my assault. And I realized after I gave that testimony that people came up to me, people that I wouldn't expect, and they told me their story like they were telling it for the first time. And I thought, you know what? I can help people by just telling my story. And so it was important for me then to gather all of my chapters, because I felt like I have so many chapters that people could probably relate to, maybe just one of them, hopefully, not all of them like I had to deal with. But if I could just help one person, then I'm already a bestseller. And that has already happened. I didn't write this book, to make billions of dollars, which hopefully, I make some money, but I wrote it for the people that needed it. I wrote it for my kids. We want to leave our kids all these treasures and maybe a house and some money in the bank. I want to leave my kids my voice. I want to leave my kids my words of wisdom. I want to leave my kids, I hated my podcast. It was cringe. I can't even stand watching it. But, maybe they'll look back one day and they'll find something funny, or they'll get something from it, or somebody else made. And so I think it's just leaving little bits and pieces of yourself that are more meaningful than your wedding ring or something.
No, that's fantastic. And I appreciate you sharing that. And you mentioned, like, there's many chapters, and in this book you have plenty of chapters. So I want to go with that with my next question. Was there, and I know what the answer is, but like, I kind of want to hear you say it. Was there a chapter or chapters in that book that you really didn't want to revisit, but you really can't tell your story without sharing those chapters?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a funny thing. I had a guy start writing the book years ago, before the book even really got good. But I thought the FBI was enough of it. So I'm like, well, this is a great
right.
book. And then all these other things started to happen. And then another guy wrote it, and then a woman wrote it. And I barely finished high school. And so for me to sit down and write a book is an accomplishment in my own heart. And so I'm finally like, I never even read books. I'm like, man, I got to actually read this book about my life. And I remember when I finally got like the final draft, which was not the final draft, I sat and my husband never saw me in work mode. I was like 18, 19 hours a day for months. And so that's what I did. And I just started tearing it apart and writing and revisiting. And he said, you did go dark. I could tell this book is affecting you and I don't like it and you need to take a break and things like that. And I don't recommend this to anybody, and I'm not trying to give advice, but I tell my story like it's not mine. I've always done that. And a lot of people, I think, that deal with trauma, they'll laugh about something very serious, or, they'll brush it off. And I would do that constantly, and I still do that. But I think my story was easy to write and tell because, again, I don't even think it's mine. I don't know how to explain it psychologically, but I tell it like it's a story I'm telling. And I think that's therapeutic for me. It works for me. I don't know if it's making me crazier or if I sound crazy, but I tell my story like it's not mine. And I know I'm truly healed because I could talk about it with you right now. I could talk about it with anybody. And even when certain people are like, oh, I want to ask you a question, but I don't want to, hurt you. Or I'm like, no, ask me whatever you want to ask me. I'm fine with all of it.
No, I think that there's so much good in talking about, those scars, those wounds, those pains, because it does make you into who you are now as a person. And like you said, you can help maybe someone that's reading that book that maybe they don't go, maybe they make a different choice, or maybe they, do something ahead of time that maybe that you had to go through that person won't go through. Or your kids, you can give them those life lessons now, which is so great, because if you're silent, no one understands what you went through. So you just talked about, and you wrote about some of the really difficult experiences, but also, like, you talk about resilience, you talk about your faith, you talk about your finding your way forward. What did you learn about yourself? Anything new you learned about yourself while writing this book, while discovering your path and who you are now through this journey?
Well, nobody's going to save you. You can only save yourself. And, I realized that the hard way, because you have to think about the timeline. When I was in Los Angeles, there were payphones, and many times I ran out of quarters. There wasn't cell phones. And, a plane trip home was difficult to do. And so I had to really save myself a lot by myself. I had to do a lot of things by myself. And I knew I was always strong. And I think I have this ability. I feel like I can do anything. I feel like, like nothing scares me anymore. Nothing's, even like I said, writing a book. I was always so insecure about sometimes how I spoke and how I wrote because of the background of my schooling. I'm not afraid of that anymore. I embrace it. And, again, in this life, it's like, are we going to worry about what happened 10 years ago? Am I going to give that power to somebody who hurt me and sit on a psychiatrist's couch and just keep rehashing? No, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to get over it. And I always tell my kids, you can either fix it or you could forget it. You could either do one or the other, but you can't sit here and you can't dwell on it, and you can't keep thinking about it. And so that's how I'm living my life. And time is everything to me. The things that you buy and the houses and the cars mean nothing. Time is the most valuable thing to me. I will not waste my time on anybody anymore. I have forgiven everybody. I could care less what people say. I am authentically me, and I've always been, but now I'm just saying it out loud. I mean, even for a long time, I hid the Playboy stuff. Not that I could hide it, but, I had this 16-year-old boy, and I started to realize the choices I made were affecting my child. And, I hid a lot, and parents were mean and women were mean. And, now, it just depends on the kid. Now my middle son, it's kind of a cool thing. My older son kind of got a little bit of crap for it, but it's just wild to me. Now I'm just like, screw it. Yes, this is what I did. And I told my kids at the time, it was the best decision I could have made at the time. And that's what I think we have to think about in life. When you make a decision, it's my back was against the wall. It was the best thing I could have did. And so there has to be no regrets for me. It is what it is. I would have never met my husband. I wouldn't have had the kids I had. I wouldn't have had the life I have. Playboy was the best decision I could have made at the time. And unfortunately, does it trickle down into my life now? Yes. And sometimes I think like, holy crap, like this is weird that I did this. But back then it was normalized, and back then it was cool, and back then it was the thing. And every girl wanted to be a Playboy Playmate.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a different world now too. Everyone's got a phone. You mentioned like using payphones. How many kids even know what a payphone is right now? But like everyone has access to whatever picture, video they want. They could just Google search it right now and see God knows what out there. But like, this was like, Playboy was a major thing. I don't know when Playboy started, but probably 70s at least. And it became very popular, and it was a big lifestyle thing. And you know what? Anyone that gives you, and excuse my language, anyone that gives you any shit is probably just frankly jealous for that. But it's very interesting. And like to think how old were you when you posed for Playboy?
I was 23, 24 years old. I was one of the older ones. Usually they're like right. 18, 19. But, like I said, I had this opportunity. I had no money. I was living in Chicago. I had the FBI tailing me, and I also had some bad guys, like, trying to find me. So Playboy was like Hef was like in a little purple robe, like my guardian angel. And so I had to do it. There was no other choice. And Playboy did start in 1953.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, you have to think of some of the people that were involved. I mean, Cindy Crawford has graced the magazine. I know probably a lot of people don't know who these people are, but Madonna, Elle McPherson, there's so many people, and they had the Playboy clubs. He has the jazz festival. I mean, he has done so much historically that it's so much more than just a magazine. And I went into this detail a little bit with somebody else one time, and it is very interesting, but I'm not going to try to talk photography with you, but their art of photography is one in itself that nobody knows how to capture what they captured. Now, digitally, you can do whatever you want to do, but back then, there was something to say about the way Playboy photography was and how they took pictures of the women. It was something really cool.
Did you have anyone ever come up to you and say, "Oh, I buy Playboy for the articles, but I saw you in it"?
Yeah, I mean, people said all kinds of stupid things, but yeah, I mean, but they did have great articles. He interviewed some really amazing people. I'm just going to say that. But yeah, so it was great. And it's like, again, it's changed my life. I mean, for me to still be talking about Playboy 25 years ago and I'm still making money off of it is bananas to me.
No, I mean, I think it's great. And I think, how many of us look back, anyone that's like in their 20s right now or whatever, but like anyone that's in their 30s or 40s can always look back and be like, well, I might have done this choice different, or I wish I would have done this when I was 23 or 24 or 25. I forgot how old you said you were 23, I believe. But like, how many people would love to go back to when they were 23 and make a different choice, whether it was like a choice they did make or a choice or an opportunity they didn't take, so you took that opportunity and it opened so many doors and did so much good for you. So I applaud you for that decision. And I'm sure you have plenty of fans that applaud you for that decision as well. But I do want to ask you, was there a point when you were you didn't know if you were going to be okay? You mentioned all these, you had nasty people after you. And I really don't want to get into why those people were after you, because that's in your book and people can read about that. But like, was there a point when you were genuinely like, I don't think I'm going to be okay. I don't think I'm going to live through this. Like, can you talk about any of that?
I mean, there were many times. I think I could have been a cat because I feel like I had 9 lives. It was just, there were so many days I was a shell of myself. I was 90 pounds. I was dark circles. My hair was falling out. I was a nervous wreck. And, Playboy, again, Hef told me, and everybody has their stories about the mansion and Hef and whatever they want to say. He was nothing but kind and generous to my family and I. And he told me, you're going to be okay. And he told me, we have your back. And I just remember that. And I remember, too, it was such a great feeling. Hef had so much security around him all the time. There was security at the mansion, and we went to clubs, and I even had security coming with me to Barnes & Noble. Playboy always made sure we have security. And that was the best feeling in the world. I had these ex-FBI agents. I had ex-Marines every time I went somewhere that was with me. And they were carrying a gun. And I just was like, if anything happens, these guys got me. And that was in its own self. I mean, I know all the other girls didn't feel the way I felt, but I felt that layer of protection from Playboy too.
Oh, that's great. And there's a lot of great people out there, but there are a lot of weirdos out there, and it's great to make sure that you have that security. Jen, what ultimately did help you get through all of this at the end? Like what was, I don't know if there's one thing you can answer or multiple things, but what helped you at the end of the day get through those terrible struggles that you had to deal with?
Well, you always have to see the good and the bad. And there were so many parts of my story, and every bad thing that happened, there was something good that came out of it. I mean, granted, you don't see it till years later, but they say that every door shut, there's a few more that open. And my faith, people don't believe this, but my faith was always very strong. I was in Los Angeles. I was going to the mansion during the day, laying out, and then I was going to church at night, and I was actually being confirmed as a Catholic. And, I just always had faith. And I remember I just laid it all down one day, and I'm just like, I give up, I surrender. And my life started to change. And so I just think even like the Boardman newspaper came out, and I think there were a couple people saying nasty things about me. Mm-hmm. My book sold more on the day the Boardman newspaper came out than it did the day it launched.
Hell
and
yeah.
To me, either people are buying it because they want to buy it and they want to support me, or they hate me and they have to buy it, or they're just interested. But it was funny to me to think, man, that sucks that people are talking crap about me after all these years. And it was a good lesson to my daughter, too. I said, no matter how old you get, just don't ever care, because you can never do any right in anybody's eyes. They're always going to judge. They're always going to think certain things about you. So just be you and don't care, because at 50, I still have these trolls trolling me. Mm-hmm. But my book sold more. So it was pretty fantastic. And so again, could I feel bad that people are talking crap about me? Yeah. But then I looked at it like a positive, like, well, at least they're talking. At least they made the newspaper. And now my book is being sold more than it did the day it launched.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And generally, like, and shout out to, I believe it's John Darnell that writes at the Boardman News, but like, that's great. I mean, like they say in media, there's no bad publicity, right? It's all good stuff, and people are going to talk, whether it's good or bad. And, it is what it is. So, good for you for dealing with that. And like you said, that's good advice for your daughter going forward. Again, she has to, and your sons have to live in this like social media culture now where everyone sees the best, 1 to 5% of people's life. They don't see the negative stuff. They don't see the day-to-day grind that people are doing. They're just seeing the best things. And, for them to live in that world, you to go back and rehash some of your good and bad stuff, that's a credit to you. So, Jen, I want to finish with 2 more questions. I know we've taken a lot of your time, and you're driving right now, so I appreciate you doing this. But your life now, you've experienced the cameras, red carpets, Playboy lifestyle, all that stuff. But like, you talk now about how you're happiest with your husband, Adam. And for anyone that doesn't know, Jen's husband, Adam, former NFL player, now a broadcaster with CBS, your kids, your animals, and just a more ordinary life. So why does this life now mean so much more to you? And all the things that you've dealt with, why does this life now mean so much more to you right now?
Because I think simple is easier, and I think it's what God wants for us. I think the life I was living was chaotic, and it was exhausting. It's exhausting. Like when we talked 5 years ago and I was going to do that reality show, I didn't end up doing it because it's exhausting. It's exhausting to constantly have cameras on you and be on and things like that. I just want to be myself, and I want my kids to feel comfortable in their own home and make mistakes and not be ridiculed for it by, the social media or all the trolls out there. And so I just think it's the things I ran from, the things that I like, I don't want to, I say this and it sounds silly maybe, but just for you to walk into a grocery store and for somebody to say, how you doing? People don't even make eye contact in bigger cities. They don't even look up and, say hello or how you doing or hold a door for you. It's the little things to me that matter. It's the happiness. And it was always right there. I just had to look up, and I was just so in my own head. And I think, it was maybe self-consumed, and I don't know. And it's funny with the paparazzi and things like that, they always get you at your worst. I remember I had laser done on my face and the paparazzi caught me. I had my wisdom teeth out and the paparazzi caught me. And so it's like people are always going to catch you in bad moments. And if you're ready, they're never going to be ready. And so I just got tired of that life. And even the older I get, it's just like I'm so happy to be here. When you read my book, you're like, man, she should have died a couple times by now, and we're in chapter 7. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy I'm here. I have some wrinkles on my face, and I probably don't look the way I did at 23, but I'm just happy to be here. And so many people don't make it as far as we have. We need to celebrate that and celebrate that as women.
No doubt. And everyone get out there and try to buy that. Try to buy the book. Again, it's Beyond the Velvet Ropes. Jen, August 23rd at the Barnes & Noble in Boardman, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Jen, last question I have for you. If the young girl, you that grew up in Youngstown, could sit down today and see everything you've experienced, and this could be for your past self or for maybe a girl that maybe might choose a similar path to you, what advice would you give to that young, Jen Walcott? What advice would you give to a young girl now, maybe, that might be going through the same experiences that you might had to have dealt with?
First of all, my younger self wouldn't have listened to me because I didn't listen to anybody. But I say this is pretty philosophical, and I don't know if people could wrap their brain around it, but I just say, thank God gave me you, because I was such a tough cookie, and I'm the only reason why I'm still standing. And of course, my family and the support I had, but I am the only reason why I'm still standing. And we all have that fight in us. We all have that little boy and that little girl. The one when you're younger, when nobody feeds your brain with, you should be afraid of this, or you shouldn't do that, or you look like this. We all have that in us, and we just have to tap back into it. And thank God I was able to tap into it during the darkest times of my life, and that little girl was still there. But throughout life, people are broken down. From the day we start going to school and we're with people that don't like us, or teachers that are nasty, or adults that are nasty, we start to become broken down. But we all come on this earth happy and fearless and hungry and excited. And unfortunately that diminishes because of who we surround ourselves with.
No doubt. That's great advice. Jen, you are you're Midwest nice and also Youngstown tough all at once. So we appreciate
I like that.
You go put that in the prologue of the next book. So Midwest nice, Youngstown tough. But Jen, we want to thank you again for coming on. You are my second Walcott guest. I've had your cousin Jess on, and both times I've had the Walcott girls. We haven't talked sports at all, which is kind of cool and refreshing on a sports show. But we appreciate you taking the time. I know you're driving, so hopefully you drive safe to wherever you're going. And again, tell people where if they'd like to, meet you, maybe get a book signed, where they can do that again coming up here in the Youngstown area.
Can I say one more thing before we go?
Oh yeah, please.
Because this is going to be announced, I think, this Friday. But so my book is going to be made into a movie. And it's going to, the reason why I'm telling you is because I'm actually working with a Boardman native guy who owns a movie company in Los Angeles. And we were friends 20 years ago when we were both in Los Angeles at the same time. And we're still friends. And we just kind of like rekindled our relationship to do this movie together. So we're going to announce that soon, and we're going to work together. I'm from Youngstown. He's from Boardman, both on the West Coast now. And we are going to bring production to Youngstown and film there. So I just wanted to say that because I'm excited, and I couldn't announce it earlier in the week, but it's confirmed, and he's going to announce it in Los Angeles. So exciting. Hell
yeah. Breaking news on the 330 Sports Show. I love it. So let's we'll get in contact with him, and maybe before the movie comes out, we'll get you guys back on and discuss all that stuff. So Jen, again, thank you so much, and remind us one more time about your book signing coming out August 23rd.
So August 23rd at the Boardman Barnes & Noble from 12 to 2, and I will have bunny ears for the first 25 people that show up. Everybody loves the free stuff.
Hell yeah. And go buy the book and then get an autograph copy signed by the woman herself. So again.
Yeah, I'll have limited books.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, Jen, again, thank you so much. we look forward to seeing you, talking to you again, and have a great rest of your day. Drive safe, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Jen. All right. So Jen Walcott Archuletta joining us on the 330 Sports Show. Go check out her book one more time, Beyond the Velvet Ropes. So pretty cool, Joe, huh? It's
that was good.
You know, like it's cool to have a you know, I'm sure people were a little disappointed they had to look at me and her still picture, but maybe next time we have her on, we'll get her either in person or in video. I know she comes home every summer for the last like 20 years or so. But damn, I didn't know all that like mafia stuff in there. That's crazy.
Well, when the FBI starts tracking you, you're halfway there. So I'm there. Like I'm almost there.
We're gonna go beyond the computer scrolls with Joe Danier.
I will make it one day, and I will come back to this moment and say Jennifer Walcott told me that right before I make it, the FBI will be on to me.
Yes. How was your sub, by the way?
It's amazing.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Are you eating lettuce right now?
It was roast beef.
Oh, okay.
So it was Jimmy John's roast beef.
No lettuce though.
No lettuce.
Okay.
There was some on there, but I tolerate.
Yeah, not from the one company, so you're safe. Jen mentioned Taco Bell, and I'm like, back in the day, you didn't have to worry about the contaminated lettuce or whatever. So
getting viruses.
Joe,
can I tell you something like about that?
Yeah.
Like I had to recuse myself from that. All right. I had 2 Playboy Playmates that were my favorite. She was one of them. Anna Nicole Smith was number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Because in 1993, when 16-year-old Joe was discovering the internet, Anna Nicole Smith was my go-to.
I remember Anna Nicole Smith.
After was Jennifer Walcott. So I had to I'm married, so I had to recuse myself from that conversation.
Oh, that's fair. Joe, can you add yourself to the camera?
I'm in the.
I have about 15 minutes before, so I want to go at least 15 minutes here. But so Jen Walcott, obviously, just had her on, and I have to admit, I have never seen the pictures. I've never looked.
Really?
So, no, I've never seen them. So I didn't want to tell her that on camera, but you know, and now it's like statute of limitations. I can't go back and look now, right? So
you can look.
But I will say I do remember Anna Nicole Smith because, like you said, like at that age, she was like, they were like portraying her like Marilyn Monroe if Marilyn Monroe had watermelons on her chest,
right?
At the day, you know, back in the day, and she was
like 6'4", like she was a tall, large person.
And do you remember? You remember the Naked Gun movies?
Yeah,
she was in. I believe it was like Naked Gun 33 and a third. And she played a fun part in that movie too. So.
She died young, right?
She did. Yeah, I'm not sure how she died, but yeah, it was a sad story, and I believe it was like somewhere in the Miami, Florida area.
Chicago Mafia. I know it.
Very well could be. I do want to get BJ's opinion on something before I leave here, but we'll get to that maybe in a little bit. Joe, have you heard of the maxing trend that the kids are doing? So like looks maxing or health and sleep maxing. Have you heard of any of this stuff?
That's so cringe.
So it is so cringe. It is very cringe. But maxing is like doing whatever you can to the most. You're maxing out on it, right? So they're on Instagram and and all like TikTok and all this stuff. People are, so if they're looks maxing, they're doing their makeup or they're doing the skin routine and maxing out. If they're doing career and skill maxing, they're training or doing, whatever. Now, I just read about this today and I laughed. You know how people say LOL in text? I literally laughed out loud and almost pissed my pants because I had to pee. But I literally almost pissed my pants because I read about money maxing. Money maxing. You know what money maxing is?
Paying your bills?
It's fucking investing.
Really?
It's investing.
Why you gonna flex on me, bro?
People are just so like so.
So hold on.
There's
an unfairness or an injustice in this. If you're 30 years old or older,
yeah. If
you do anything above bar,
yeah,
you're extra.
Yeah.
If you're below 30, you're maxing.
Yeah.
So it's an unfairness. You can't even max at 40 whatever.
No, because Jen just talked about it. Like there's a grit, there's a toughness, there's a work ethic. And at some point, and I'm not saying the whole younger generation, but at some point, people, like you said, the bar just got so low and low and low and low. And like, why do you think that is? Is it because the parents were doing everything for their kids? They're making soft children. Soft,
like you pissing your pants, right?
Well,
one day.
I want to make it clear. I didn't piss my pants. I almost did.
If you get through the day without pissing your pants, you will be clean shortsing.
I'm
100%.
I'm potty training maxing, right?
100%. Like God. That's all. Ooh, got through the day. No piddle in my shorts.
I literally read about that and I stopped reading after the first paragraph. So maybe there's more to it, but I'm like, so people are investing their money
like people have done since the 1900s,
like since forever. Like I'm sure back in ancient times they were divesting gold or some sort of, whatever. I had to stop. I'm like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So investing, like maybe read a book or maybe don't take all your information from Instagram or TikTok too. So that's
it. TikTok's your major influencer. You're in big trouble.
Yeah.
But we said that. We said that from the beginning. Right. We were going to have a bunch of dumb, soft people going forward, and all of those problems are going to follow us into think about that dude. Everything he knows is about TikTok. Mm-hmm. And one day he gets a job where it's a position where it's super important that you're intelligent. Do you trust that moment?
No, he's got to work max. So,
I showed up on time, Max.
But, we are in a culture now, and even I'm a millennial. I believe you're Gen X, Gen Z. Sorry. So, we're in a harder working generation,
no,
but
I am X. I just effed up.
Okay. Sorry, well, either way, generation, whatever generation, you at least give a shit, so
generation give a shit. That's what I'm in.
So, all right, this is called a change of subject here, but speaking of something new, the Bills Stadium. So the Browns are building a new stadium, right?
Yes.
Up in Berea or up in Brook Park outside of Berea by the airport. But the Bills are opening their new stadium. Did you see any of the pushback on the Bills' new stadium? So, former guest of this show, Max Tomczak, who is a wide receiver now in Bills training camp, former Youngstown State wide receiver. But I saw him post some pictures, and then I looked into it, and then I started seeing all these Bills fans complaints, and then national media started picking up on it, and so. A PSL, a personal seat license. You got to buy that to be able to buy season tickets. So some people are spending upwards of 5 figures on PSLs to be able to buy season tickets for the Buffalo Bills. It is an outdoor stadium, and they were supposed to be protected from the elements, but apparently it rained. They were getting rained on, but that's a minor issue compared to.
Did they move away from downtown?
I believe they're right next to the old stadium. Okay. I think they're it's called Orchard Park, I believe, which is, it's close to downtown, but it's probably going to be kind of like Cleveland, 10,
you
10,
drive
12 miles
through, going to Niagara Falls. Mm-hmm. And when you see that stadium, you're like, where do people park? Because it is in the most dense part of the downtown.
So it's right there then. Yeah. So it's in the same spot. But these stadium views, so some of these seats, they are literally, there's glass and there's steps. So I don't know if these people were not given the heads up of their stadium views, or they were just shown the location of their seats. But a lot of people are really pissed off because, what are you going to do? That's the seat you purchased, and you're going to have an obstructed view in a $2.2 billion stadium.
If you're paying 5 figures for a seat, do you go see it first before you lay down the money?
And I don't know if they had the opportunity, is what I'm saying.
But you don't do it if you don't see it. If you buy a Lamborghini, right, and you don't sight unseen, and then something's wrong with it, that is on you for being a really douchebag buyer.
That's a great point. So. All right, let's move on. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay.
All right. So Jayden Daniels, I don't know if you're familiar with Jayden Daniels, but he's the quarterback for the Washington Commanders now. Started his college career at Arizona State, then transferred to LSU, won the Heisman Trophy 3 years ago now. And his number, So he won the Heisman Trophy, gets drafted. I think he went in the draft 3rd overall 2024 draft. So he won the Rookie of the Year, I believe, Offensive Rookie of the Year, his rookie season. Kind of had an up and down year last year, but is a solid quarterback by all means. LSU, so he only spent, I believe, 2 seasons there, but they have given out his number to another player. He has told them, you are no longer allowed to use my name, image, and likeness to make money for your university because they gave that number up. Is he in the right or is he in the wrong? Like, should they retire that number?
No.
You don't think so?
No. Like, retiring a number is something of honor where they can do it to be able to like take something that you've done there,
sure, or
the championships you've won or whatever. But you don't own that.
So he did not win a championship, but he did win a Heisman Trophy, which is maybe the most prestigious individual. You think F off?
F off.
Okay, BJ, I'm curious what you think about that.
Now, if they took his literal name or his literal likeness, that's a different story.
Okay. Well, and they've been doing that, but you know they sell some Jaden Daniels jerseys, I'm sure, with I believe he was number 5. But I just saw that story come across today, and I thought that was crazy.
Think how many great players have come through and taken numbers, and
right? If
you would make them all, then that nobody can use them, we'd be in the triple digits.
You think about like the New York Yankees with all the retired numbers, and the Boston Celtics with all the retired numbers. I believe Archie Griffin. I think Ohio State only retires jersey numbers. He can sit over here. He can sit. So I have a question. And I'm gonna have a follow-up question to you after this too. So Jaden Daniels, LSU former Heisman Trophy winner, told LSU no longer can they do anything with his NIL, even though he's with the Washington Commanders.
Okay.
He basically said "F you," to them because they gave his jersey number to another player. He's no longer with the team. He only played 2 years at LSU. Is he in the right? Is LSU in the wrong? What's your thoughts on that?
So LSU's not allowed to. He doesn't want them to sell.
He doesn't want them to. He didn't want him to give that number out to another player. I think he wanted that number retired. And at Ohio State, I will say, anyone that wins a Heisman Trophy basically gets their number retired, eventually down the road. Andy Katzenmoyer, way back when, asked permission from Archie Griffin if he could wear that number 45, and he allowed it. So that has since been worn. But Julian Sayin right now is wearing number 10 at Ohio State. Troy Smith wore number 10 at Ohio State. But like Jaden Daniels is saying, basically giving the big FU to LSU for saying, hey, you're giving this out. You can't make money off of my name, image, or likeness.
Well, so he's saying don't give out my number, or basically he's saying like you can't use my name, image, and likeness for anything if you give out my number.
Yeah,
he's doing like a
yes.
I mean,
kind of petty. You think? He's making his money. He's
really he really attached to that number and thought it was going to get retired. I guess, but he was only there for a couple.
Yeah,
years,
he was only that. He was at Arizona State, then transferred to LSU, and I mean, he did win a Heisman Trophy, which is great. It's a very elite, prestigious award. But he didn't take him to the playoffs. He didn't take him to the national championship. Didn't win anything really. So.
Tough shit, Jaden.
Yeah, exactly. Tough shit. All right.
Tough shit, Jaden. Like, whatever. Yeah.
All right. That's good. That's kind of where I say. All right. And kind of F out LSU too, by the way. You got Lane Kiffin there, and I don't LSU, and before that you had Brian Kelly.
Brian Kelly was off.
So I don't know if you can go from
and Lane Kiffin's not much
two
better,
bigger pieces of shit head coaches than those two.
Exactly.
All right. Last thing I want to end with, but it's a golf thing, and I wanted you to answer this because you're the golf pro of this group here. So there's a guy named Zach Holland, and I just read this story, and I can't remember exactly where it happened at, but he faked a hole-in-one.
Oh, I saw this guy.
Okay, so you've seen this story. So this guy faked a hole-in-one, put it on Instagram, put it on social media. Like, everybody got excited. Apparently this wasn't the first time he's done this either.
Boy.
And is it right for the club to kick him out for that?
Yeah.
I 100% agree too.
I mean, you came out as being a douchebag.
Exactly.
For doing that to begin with, and he's done it before. Like,
yes.
That's what I always say. I love golf. I hate golfers. Because the majority of golfers are kind of insufferable, and they don't, it's just a weird, like the cheating that goes on in golf, and I mean, just sort of like, it's just a weird, like I said, I love golf. I do, and I love, I play in a league on Thursdays, but it's a bunch, it's just a bunch of hacks. So right. Everybody has a good time. It's not like a whatever, but I enjoy that. But yeah, man, this dude, adios, dude. Like,
exactly.
You gotta fake a hole in one.
Well, and apparently this guy's a sandbagger too. So, for anybody that doesn't know, a sandbagger, like in golf, you have a handicap, right? So you're a way lower handicap than I am. I'm probably in the low 20s for me, but a sandbagger would be someone that shoots like an 82, but says they're a 20 handicap, right? So like they're trying to get more strokes when they're playing like some tournament play. So that's what this guy apparently is, a big sandbagger too, so he could win extra tournaments.
Your stereotypical douchebag golfer. I mean, he's faking a hole in one is a little extreme. That takes it a little further. It's like, dude, come on.
Yeah, because like
what are you getting out of that?
You're getting what? Social media notoriety. You're getting maybe a plaque at that course and stuff, which is great. But it also takes away from someone that actually does get that hole in one, because the chance of that, I don't know what a hole in one is, but it's probably like 0.001%. It's like 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 10,000. I don't know what it is, but it's very hard to do. And, that you're taking that opportunity away from somebody else, or giving yourself credit for something you didn't do as well.
I've never had a hole in one. During COVID, I was playing at Kensington, number 8 out there is a par 3 where it kind of goes down, like you tee off from up on top of the hill and it goes down.
Yeah.
And it was back when they had those stupid sponges in the hole. And so I hit a great shot. It rolled up and it bounced over the hole. I don't know if it would have dropped or not.
Yeah.
COVID rules says that's a hole in one, but it's not really a hole. Like, to me, it's like, I have to see it drop into the hole for that to happen. So, and it might not have dropped into the hole. It might have still been going too fast when it hit it and, it bounced over, but that's the closest I ever came to a hole in one.
And how far away from it was it when you saw it? How many feet? When you saw it, like, stop.
I made the putt. It was like, it stopped.
Like a gimme almost, basically.
I tapped it in for birdie. Yeah.
Damn. The closest I've been about 6 feet is my closest that I can think. It wasn't a give me putt. So, but yeah, crazy stuff. BJ, before we go, I do want, like, as a golf, because a lot of people are still out there golfing. We're having some nice weather this weekend, stuff like that. But as a golf aficionado, you like golfing. I like golfing. Give me your biggest pet peeve on the golf course.
Oh, I mean, slow play is number one. I mean, just are people that are sort of so oblivious to the fact that there's people behind them or whatever. So slow play, but I'll pair that also with fivesomes. If you go out in a fivesome or a sixsome, sometimes like courses that do that drives me absolutely insane. Because you can't, because the pace of it's already takes forever to golf as it is anyway.
Right.
And I play super fast. So fivesomes or like clubs or golf courses too. You run into this a lot as well. I'm going on a tangent here, but
no, it's good.
Where like I'll play for 18 and then you make the turn at 9.
Yeah.
And then suddenly like I'll be out there with maybe me and a friend. It might just be me sometimes. And I make the turn and they just let a bunch of groups go out on number 10. And it's like,
that's not cool. Yeah.
No. And then that drives me nuts. Yeah. It's just, again, I love golf, but some of the stuff that kind of goes with it. And
golf,
but slow play is number
golf
one.
Itself, the game is fun, but there's a lot that goes into it that makes it infuriating sometimes too. I did see a shirt, I can't remember the company, but it says play bad fast. And that's a great motto to live by. If you're going to be a bad golfer, that's fine. You're just doing it for fun, but at least play fast, Like, know the rules.
Dude that just won the British Open.
Yes.
Played incredibly fast. And he's faster than like Daly. I mean, he's faster than some of the fastest players in the game. I mean, that guy was great. I immediately started rooting for that guy when I just saw the camera would like cut to him and he'd already be like,
and a lot of times it might make someone that's in their head a lot better because then you're not thinking as much about the shot. You're just shooting your shot, So All right. Well, that's where we're going to end on. Thanks to BJ. Thanks to Joe. Thank you again to Jen for joining us today on the 330 Sports Show. We have a lot of great content coming out tonight. I have an interview with Bill Bender of the Sporting News. Tomorrow, we have a betting guru, Tyler Shoemaker from VSiN. He's an analyst on VSiN Live. He is I don't want to call any gambling person an expert, but he's very knowledgeable and puts out his T-Shoe Index. We're going to talk to him tomorrow, and BJ is going to run that tomorrow afternoon. So for Joe, for BJ, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm Justin. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel